Gel-10 Burn Makeup with Stuart Bray, Part 2. In this part, we're going to show the sculpting process. As we mentioned in the previous video, which if you didn't watch that, you might want to catch up and watch Part 1 before you watch this one, we ended by saying we're going to sculpt in Gel-10. What we're working on here is a very realistic burn makeup. Stuart Bray visited our shop and did this makeup on James, and we're going to show the complete process in several videos. Now, to learn more about Stuart's processes that we cover in these videos, you can go to his website, learnprostheticmakeup.com. Now, as we mentioned in the previous video, we'll start by sculpting in Gel-10. Now, this is a kit of Plat-Seal Gel-10 in convenient little squeeze bottles. You can always transfer your gallon kits of Gel-10 down to little squeeze bottles like this, provided they are clean and free of any contaminants. And the squeeze bottles help a lot when you're working in small amounts using a gram scale. It just helps you measure out by the drop and make sure you get an accurate mix in small amounts. Here, I think we were mixing up around 20 grams of Gel-10. Anytime you're working in small amounts of Gel-10, you always want to use an accurate gram scale. And even though this may not appear to be an accurate gram scale, it does still function despite the heavy level of debris crusted upon that scale. But nonetheless, we always want to use an accurate gram scale to measure out small amounts of Plat-Seal Gel-10, A and B, to make sure that we get an accurate mix and we don't have any waste. When you're eyeballing the material, you sometimes need 2 or 3 ounces or more to really be able to accurately measure it. Now here we're adding a little bit of our flesh tone, our silicone flesh tone. Now remember, always use the silly colors or the silicone colors with Gel-10. Do not try to add the poly colors that are designed for use in polyurethanes. They will not disperse in silicone. Now we're also adding a couple of drops of Tin-Thix. And Tin-Thix is a concentrated silicone thickener. And what it does is it takes Gel-10 from being a pourable liquid and converts it to a gel or a paste. And you'll notice there as Stuart's stirring that in, it becomes a frosting-like paste that can be troweled and even sculpted. And that's what we're going to do here. First thing we need to do, because we have a very short working time, Gel-10 without retarder added gives us about 5 to 6 minutes of working time at room temperature. So we got to move fast to get it out of the mixing cup and spread out on our foam core pattern. Now remember, this is a continuation of our last video where we made this pattern from James's chin. So if you didn't catch that part, I would go back and watch part 1, so this will make a little more sense. Now once we get that feathered out, it's time to start sculpting that appliance. Now one of the important things on a good appliance is a thin edge. So what Stuart's going to do is smooth it out and get a good thin edge by brushing a light solution of 99% alcohol over the top. Now this is the same 99% alcohol that you use as an activator for Skin Illustrator makeup, so you can also use that. Now once you've applied a light layer of alcohol, you're ready to put some cling wrap over the top. This will allow you to texture the silicone surface. And because of that alcohol, it helps the cling wrap not stick to the silicone and allows you to texture it without getting it stuck on the cling wrap there. Now what he's doing here is pushing in with a brush, pushing the cling wrap up against the surface of the silicone and eliminating air bubbles there. And now we can shape that through the cling wrap using a short brush or steel dental tools. And notice here we're following those lines again that we created on that original pattern to create the look of seared flesh that's been drawn in and constricted and created those stretched out areas on James's lower jaw there. Now again, one of the main concerns is to make sure we've got a thin edge for a good application. And in addition to maintaining that edge, you want to then come back in with your brush or your tool and sculpt that appliance out. Now as Gel-10 starts to set up, it will become more sculptable and it'll be a little easier to manipulate it and have it stay put just as it's starting to gel and cure. So once we reach that point, we'll be ready to move quick and put some more definition into our finished appliance. And now we're going to speed up just a little bit to the point where the silicone starts to gel. Now notice Stuart's feathered out that edge, and now it's time to come in with a steel dental tool and define the edge of our wound. Keep in mind this is a burn wound, so we want to create a little edge of normal flesh there, or areas where the flesh has just started to burn, and then we want to define some wrinkles and some more burned fleshy areas. Now, one of the things that Stuart was showing us here in the shop is his library of reference photos of actual burns. And the more realistic the makeup you're attempting to do, the more reference material you'll want to consult to make sure that your finished cut or appliance looks as realistic as possible. Now, once we've defined the edge and we've sculpted our appliance, you'll notice those wrinkles and the definition that's been put in by the dental tool. We can also go in for some heavier lines with some popsicle sticks and actually use those to fold the plastic wrap under the silicone a little bit to further define those areas. Now, once our silicone is cured, which typically takes about 30 minutes after the silicone gels, after about 30 minutes we're able to remove our cling wrap, and we want to very carefully remove this because remember we have those thin edges. We want to make sure we preserve those thin edges for blending later on. And now we have our finished sculpted appliance ready for mold making. So be sure to watch part 3 for the molding process where we mold this and create an appliance to apply to James to create our realistic burn makeup.